Angela Bugay, age 5. She disappeared on November the 19th, 1983. Sadly, Angela's body was found partially buried in a shallow grave on November 26, 1983. Amber Swartz, age 7. Amber disappeared on June the 3rd, 1988. Sadly, Amber has never been located. Michaela Garecht, age 9. Michaela disappeared on November 19th, 1988. Michaela has never been located. Ilene Misheloff, age 13. Ilene disappeared on January the 30th, 1989. Sadly, Ilene Misheloff has never been located. Nikki Campbell, age 4. Nikki disappeared on December 27th, 1991. Nikki Campbell has never been located. 5 children between the age of 4 and 13 disappeared between the years of 1983 and 1991. The common factor? They all lived in the East Bay location of San Francisco. With the exception of Angela Bugay being found and ultimately her killer being discovered, Amber Swartz, Michaela Garecht, Ilene Misheloff, and Nikki Campbell were never located. Was the person who killed Angela Bugay the same individual who kidnapped these other 4 girls? And what does the constant appearance of another individual named Tim Bender have to do with these missing girls? It could be that this Tim Bender person is just an overly caring person, like his attorney likes to try and infer. However, Tim Bender could also be a criminal. Could it be that the person who actually killed Angela Bugay was also the one that did harm to all these other girls? We don't know. That is ultimately you to make the decision on this upcoming installment of the East Bay Abductions. Before we get to the case itself, here is the case preview.
Over the course of a decade, at least 4 young girls vanished under similar circumstances from towns in the San Francisco Bay Area. Many suspect the cases are somehow connected.
Okay, now let's get to the case itself. I've been asked, Jeff, why do you cover these cases from Unsolved Mysteries? And I always give the same answer. I feel that every family who has a case on Unsolved Mysteries that has never been solved, they deserve to have the answer that they're looking for. So that's why I do what I do. And hopefully just one of these days, I'm not saying it's going to be me, but as long as the light is constantly being shined on these cases, hopefully one of these days, these cases will be solved. Alrighty, let me get my headphones on. Bam. And let's get this going, shall we? So let's get the video up. There we go. So 3, 2, 1.
One Friday afternoon, Kim Swartz was preparing dinner when her 7-year-old daughter Amber asked permission to play in front of their Pinole, California home.
Oh, but our friends are going to be here in 5 minutes.
Please.
Okay.
Amber asked if she could use the jump rope in the hall closet and jump rope outside. So I walked with her over to the closet and opened up the door, and she grabbed the jump rope.
Thank you, Mommy.
And
I love you.
on her way out the door, she just stopped and turned and said, "I love you, Mommy," and out the door she went.
Maybe it's because I don't have any kids myself, but I cannot help but think I'd be overly protective if I had a child, especially a daughter, and she wasn't even 10 yet and she wanted to go outside. I'd be like, if you want to go outside, I'll go out there with you. But if I was unable to go out there because, let's say, I was doing work inside, I would actually have to kind of put the foot down and be like, I'm sorry, honey. You're going to have to stay in here until either I can go out there with you or your mom comes home. Call me paranoid. I just don't trust people enough, for my child to go out there and when they're not even in double digits yet.
Amber planned to jump rope until Kim's friend Debbie and her daughter Marisa came by.
Hello. Hi, you two. Come in.
They walk in the door, and Marisa instantly asks where Amber was,
And the moment that they said that, I would have had that feeling like, have you ever, I'm not sure how to really explain it, but have you ever had that time where you will have like something like very stressful, or you all of a sudden get like a panic, and all of a sudden you get like that feeling that runs down your spine? For me, it's like a tingling and a little bit of like a cold feeling. It's hard to really explain. I don't even know if it has an actual name, but I get like this tingling and cold feeling that goes down my spine whenever something like all of a sudden, like say you forget your keys and you lock your keys in the car door in the car, or you forget, you lock yourself out of your home. You get that feeling like, oh god, like it's like that feeling. If my child's friend came over and they're like, where's such and such, and the last thing I knew was that they were supposed to be outside right in front playing jump rope, and I'm asked that, all of a sudden I would have that oh my god feeling.
I said she was outside jumping rope, and so both of them at that point said we didn't see her out there. So I said, well, maybe she was over in the vacant lot.
I know she's out there. Go get her.
So Marisa quickly ran right back outside looking for Amber, and
Glad it's Friday. Oh, me too. Yeah.
she came running back inside saying she didn't see her.
I'd be like, say that again, Pumpkin. What did you just say? And if she says, my child wasn't out there, I would be like, oh my god.
So at that point, I went outside. I started hollering Amber's name.
Amber! Amber!
And she wasn't there. So I called the only two people that I thought that Amber may have wandered off to, and I got answering machines. So obviously they weren't there.
Amber! Amber! Amber, where are you? Amber!
I couldn't find Amber. I was afraid. And I didn't.
If my wife reported to me that my child had disappeared, I'm not sure how I'd handle it. I'd be scared, but would I also be mad at the mother? Because ultimately, like when she leaves and I'm the parent there, she entrusts me to make sure our kid is safe. When I go to work and she's there with the child, I would entrust her to make sure that the child is safe. So I cannot exactly say how exactly I would feel towards the mothers. It's like, how could you let her go outside without there being any kind of supervision? I have covered a couple cases like this throughout my time online over the last 15 plus years. I have covered cases like this before. I covered the Michaela Garecht case. Oh god, there was a case about a little girl who was found like in a box that used to be a TV used to be in. So I kind of covered some of these cases before. Marlene Santana, that was another one. So it's like every time I see these cases, I always wonder myself, how would I have handled it if I was the child's father? Would I just be outright mad only at the criminal who kidnapped my kid, or would the wife and the mother of my child, would she also get a little bit of the brunt of that anger?
I didn't want anything to be wrong. I wanted her to be home.
You got to remember that this was before, before the I don't want to say the advent because they were already out, but this was before security cameras, affordable security cameras really started to become popular. Back in, I think, and Amber was kidnapped. Let's see here. Let me check real quick. According to the file that they have for her on the Unsolved Mysteries wiki, she disappeared June 3rd, 1988. So almost 30 years, roughly. 80 to 98, 90 to 2000. No, actually almost 40 years. Holy cow. Holy cow. So, but back to what I was saying. Basically, this was before, residential security cameras really started to explode. So in my opinion, I think that, especially back then, you had to have been a lot more careful and, a lot more supervisory when it came to your kids and everything.
Kim Swartz would never see her only daughter again. The disappearance of Amber was a second devastating tragedy Kim Swartz was forced to endure. Her husband, Bernie, a Pinole police officer, was killed in the line of duty when Kim was pregnant with Amber.
So not only did she basically kind of lost her family. I'm not talking extended family. I'm talking like her family, not, what's the best way to say it? Not her normal family like her mother, father, and everything. I'm talking about she lost her daughter and she lost her daughter's father. So this lady, she had it really bad, like, oh geez.
This latest tragedy would transform the widowed mother of 3 into an activist. Following hours of searching, investigators concluded Amber Swartz had been abducted.
Well, yeah, no shit. No shit. Where the fuck else would she go?
The morning after she disappeared, a pair of pink socks was discovered in a park a short distance from Amber's home. When the park had been searched the previous night, the socks were not there.
To come back the next morning and find these.
So basically, I think that the abductor left that there as like a calling card, basically saying, hey, I got your kid. Come get your kid if you feel like.
Socks in a place that had already been searched certainly sent up a lot of red flags. They were just like the socks that Amber had on her feet, I could say that. That's because I had helped Amber put her new shoes on that we had just bought.
We knew fairly quickly that this was going beyond our resources, and we reached out to the FBI and to the neighboring agencies and pulled in other resources so that we could conduct a proper investigation.
Mrs. Swartz, I just have a few more questions that I'd like to ask you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'm just curious. Let's do some research here real quick, ladies and gentlemen. I am curious. That's one thing I like about doing this type of video. I can actually stop and do God, I have to move my camera. Let's see here. Hold on. Oh, I can just do this. There we go. I'm curious, how many children disappear each day in the United States of America? Let's see. How many children disappear annually? Each year, approximately 350,000 to 460,000 children are reported missing in the United States. Here are some key statistics. 360,000 children are reported missing to the FBI's National Crime Information Center. Estimates suggest the actual number of missing children, including runaways, is closer to 2 million. Holy shit. The Justice Department reports about 460,000 children are missing annually. A lower estimate indicates 317,869 children go missing each year, averaging 871 children daily. Holy hell. These figures highlight the significant issue of missing children in the U.S. and the varying estimates based on different definitions and reporting methods. Wow, I was not expecting that to be the number. Because I never really researched it. I just covered the cases, but this was like the first time I actually just typed it up. I was expecting it to be like, say, 50, 60,000 children go missing, because we're the United States of America. We're supposed to be like one of the best countries around. We're supposed to have like security, all that, police, FBI, CIA, NSA. We have all that stuff. And for that many children to go disappearing yearly, that's actually kind of like a rude awakening for me.
Okay.
When FBI agents visited her home, Kim was struck by the unusual questions they asked.
Have you been to Social Security in the last 2 or 3 days?
No.
Questions like, had I or Amber received anything in the mail from someone that we didn't know? Had Amber come home with anything? She couldn't really explain who it came from.
And that's one thing I would always do if I had a child. The first thing I would teach my child as soon as they could comprehend stuff would be like, I would teach them about stranger danger, number one. And number two, unless you get a gift from me, your mom, or a family member, you do not accept gifts from anybody. If they want to give you a gift, have them give it to your mom and dad, and we will check it out. If somebody just goes or mails my kid a gift and be like, here, you can have this, I'd be like, why the fuck is this weirdo trying to give my kid a gift?
to me. Had I received phone calls from anyone I didn't know? Just really bizarre questions, but the way they were being asked kind of led me to believe they were so specific that they had to be about somebody.
Now, if I remember correctly, I think this is what when they start talking about Tim Bender, which in my opinion is somebody that is very suspicious, and you're going to find out pretty damn quickly why.
In the days following Amber's disappearance, many strangers offered to help. But 3 days after her daughter vanished, Kim was visited by a man she will never forget. His name was Tim Bindner.
My name's Timothy. I'm with the search for Amber. For your dear Amber. She's such a lovely girl.
Now what you watch here, ladies and gentlemen, this is basically taken from affidavits from like the family, from police, and all that stuff. So basically what you're seeing here, it's kind of like reported to the people of Unsolved Mysteries. This interaction here, this not so much the actor, because that's what this guy is. He's just an actor. But what was reported, that the Tim Bender did creeps me the fuck out. The way that he would talk about my kid, if that was my kid that was missing, and he's talking about my kid like this, I would be fucking really seriously concerned about this guy. If my wife answered the door and he comes up and goes, your sweet daughter, I'm so sorry about I would have grabbed him by the fucking neck and really start interrogating the guy right then and there. Like, where the fuck is my kid? Why are you acting this weird?
It looked like he'd been up all night. Basically was saying how he wanted to be the one to save her. He wanted to be the one to bring her home to me.
I've been searching in a lot of places that I think some of the authorities might not be searching for, because I know kids.
Bindner's.
And I'd be like, how do you know kids? Do you have a kid? Well, I don't know if he does or not, but if he goes, well, I don't have kids. Then how the fuck do you know how kids would act if you don't have a fucking kid?
Van also caught Kim's attention.
It almost looked like a van that he painted himself.
Oh yeah, nothing says abductor like a van, coated with the Here, let me turn my camera off so you guys can actually see it. What you're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen, is the guy's van. He literally has the missing person flyers of Amber Swartz plastered all over his van. Yeah, nothing says fucking weird like that, dude.
He's got these plates that say "Love You." He's got posters on the outside of the van.
So I want you to know, I want to be the one to find her.
Oh, this guy is fucking creepy as fuck. I'm not talking about the actor. I'm talking about Tim Bender himself. Why is this guy seriously getting this, like this emotional about a kid that he'd never even, that wasn't even his? It always kind of makes, my radar kind of go off when I see people who are not even related, like via friendship, to a kid. And a kid goes missing, and all of a sudden they start panicking also. It's like, you don't even fucking know the kid. Why are you getting this emotional? Yeah, I understand that people want to help find a kid, but when you literally have a guy like this getting this emotional, to me, it's throwing up like a lot of red flags.
According to Kim, Bindner became extremely emotional as he talked of Amber.
I want to be the one to save her and bring her back to you.
Oh yeah, this isn't creepy at all.
Did you see Amber Swartz on June 3rd?
No.
Tim Bindner was questioned extensively by the FBI following Amber Swartz's abduction. According to authorities, the results of his polygraph were inconclusive.
Did you speak to Amber Swartz on June 3rd?
No.
Tim Bindner is a very bright man. He's a very intelligent man. He's a Berkeley grad, right up near
John Philpin is a trained forensic psychologist. He spent more than 1,000 hours interviewing Tim Bindner for his book Stalemate.
There are law enforcement agencies.
Now they're saying, I think I misheard, Robert Stack. I thought his name was Tim Bender, but I think he's referring it to as Tim Bindler. Let me check. No, it's Tim Bindner. Bindner. Oh, how you pronounce it. I keep thinking that Robert is actually pronouncing it as Tim Bindler or something like that with an L. Okay.
Which consider him a
Oh, by the way, just because a guy goes to college doesn't mean that he's going to be a good guy. Look at the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. If I remember correctly, he was a college graduate and everything, and he turned out to be a bombing piece of shit. Just because somebody goes to college doesn't mean that they're going to be, or a university, that doesn't mean that they're just going to be Mother Teresa.
suspect. There's also the perception shared by a number of people that Tim has done absolutely nothing wrong, and that he is a misunderstood Good Samaritan.
Even if he didn't do anything wrong, his actions are still fucking creepy as hell. They're still creepy. You have a guy who is literally going up to these, to the Amber's parents' house, and the guy is acting with like histrionics. Look at this shit. Why, this family already has a missing child. Now all of a sudden they have this guy on their doorstep freaking out. It's like motherfucker, get the fuck out of here.
Tim Bindler's attorney, John Burris, maintains that Bindler's actions should not be viewed with suspicion.
Point of fact is, he is trying to be helpful. He does that voluntarily. It is a sense that he has an obligation and a duty to go out and try to find missing children.
He has an obligation and a duty? That sounds more like something that you expect like the police, the FBI, to kind of do. Not some random stranger on the street.
According to John Philpin, Tim Bindler seemed to have a particular interest in the grave of a girl named Angela Bugay. 5-year-old Angela disappeared 4.5 years before Amber and was later found sexually assaulted and strangled.
Now check this out. Let's play a game. How many times do you think Tim Bindler went to this girl's grave? Do you think it was less than 10 times? Or do you think it was more than 10 times?
The FBI placed Tim Bindler under surveillance. His alleged habit of visiting Angela Bugay's gravesite up to 90 times a year.
You heard correctly. 90 times a year. He visited a young girl's grave 90 times a year. He wasn't even related to this girl. He was not related to this girl at all. Yet he felt compelled to go to this girl's grave not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 90 fucking times in a single year. Oh, Jeff, you're kind of paranoid. You may be wrong about him. This is the reason I become paranoid of people. Why the fuck is this guy needing to go to a cemetery, to a young girl's grave that he had no affiliation with? Not once, but 90 times.
Had caught their attention.
To have been to this little girl's grave, this little girl that he never knew, I just can't imagine anybody going to somebody's grave that many times.
I could understand it if it was like, say, I was the parent of, let's say, Angela Bugay. If I was the parent, yeah, I would go there multiple times a year, because she was my child. A death of a family member, natural or unnatural causes, leaves a hole in a person. Parents or children go to their family's grave to try and reconnect and try to heal and everything. So I could understand, if the father would go or the mother would go to that grave religiously, But for a stranger to go to the grave 90 times, yeah, that's not natural, dude.
That period of time, unless there's something else going on in that person's mind.
According to John Burris, the fact that Bindler visits grave sites should not cast suspicion on his client.
If it was just one time, okay, I'd be willing to let it go. Okay, maybe the guy found, he read about a child missing, and he wanted to go there just to pay respects, I guess. One time, okay. But 90 in a year. Here, let's do some math, shall we? Let's do some math. Let's do some math. Let's pull up my calculator here. $365 divided by 90. Almost every 5 days. Almost every 5 days, this guy was going to that girl's, her grave. So over once a week, twice a week, he was going to this. Why? Why would you need to go to this child's grave? Oh, sorry, this child's grave almost twice a week? Even if he didn't do anything, like I said before, it's still disturbing that he would have this sort of fixation on a child's grave like this.
For him, it has a special kind of significance that is personal to him, but certainly not an indication that he's putting by in that graveyard.
Good dog. 11 days after Amber vanished, a bloodhound from the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Department tracked her scent to Angela's gravesite. Where'd he go? Police say the dog also picked up Amber's scent in Bindner's van. However, California courts are often leery about the reliability of bloodhound evidence.
The bloodhound found a scent at the grave and in the van. We can't take the what happened with the bloodhound. We can't take that. But we're also not going to pay attention to the fact that this guy spent 90 visits, twice a week almost, going to a grave.
Sadly, 5 months after Amber's disappearance, the East Bay area was shocked by the abduction of another young girl, 9-year-old Michaela Garecht.
That was actually a case I covered on this series.
Outside a Hayward market. As Michaela went to retrieve her scooter, a man forced her into his car.
Michaela!
By now, parents in the surrounding communities were living in fear. Then 2 months later, in nearby Dublin, 13-year-old Ilene Misheloff disappeared. Despite the fact that some suspicion had been directed at him, Tim Bindner helped search for Ilene. A few years later, a mother in the town of Fairfield informed the police that her daughter had begun receiving mail from a man they didn't know.
One young girl was getting letters from Tim. Oddly enough, these letters were written backwards and had to be held up to a mirror to read, which I'm sure would set any parent on edge, you know.
Why is he doing this? Why is he sending children that he doesn't even know? Why is he sending children that he doesn't even know gifts and letters that are written backwards? I don't know about you, but to me, that is very, very, suspicious.
Have your kid all of a sudden get this really weird letter.
What I would do is, if that was my kid and my kid goes, Dad, I just got this gift and she showed me, I would tell her, if this guy sends you any more stuff, you let me or your mom know, and we will contact the police, because this is something that should not be happening.
I'm gonna play with my friends down the street.
Just a few blocks from where the letter was received, another young girl disappeared. 4-year-old Nikki Campbell was playing in her driveway.
Nikki lived on Salisbury Drive in Fairfield.
People are too trusting. They let their child, 4 years old, do this. It's like, dude, what is wrong? What is wrong? It's like sometimes I think parents do not grasp how dangerous the world is. And it's those kind of parents that ultimately has things happen to the kids like this.
And she had been out playing with her brother in the afternoon. Mom came home from work, asked, "Where's Nikki?" Well, she's out playing. They couldn't find her.
4 days after Nikki's disappearance, her scent, like Amber Swartz's before her, was allegedly tracked by bloodhounds to Angela Bugay's grave.
Let me guess. Was it tracked somewhere Tim Binder was also besides the grave?
The grave that Tim Binder reportedly visited so regularly.
You put all of these coincidences together, you see them pile up, the dogs, the cemetery, the various scents in the various places. And you really have to question, which is what I believe law enforcement was doing, and I think it's their role to do it. You really have to question, is this a coincidence or is there something to it?
If there was...
What makes me just kind of scratch my head is, you have the author. They said that he spent 1,000 hours talking to Tim Binder. How is it that he spent this long talking to Tim Binder? Yet he just said right there that, it's natural that the police, would find it, would be kind of cautious and everything. How is it he does not grasp the idea that this is severely weird? The lawyer, I can give the pass to the lawyer. The lawyer is that by nature they are there to protect their clients. They will say whatever possible to get their client off, because ultimately if they get their client off, they get reputation, they get money. But this guy who literally spent 1,000 hours talking to Tim Binder, interviewing Tim Binder, yet it doesn't click to him at all that this is weird. This is weird.
Something more to it than you would think. After all this time, there's been some more evidence that was more definitive, and there hasn't been any.
Following the Nikki Campbell disappearance, the Fairfield Police Department searched Tim Binder's home and found nothing. Believing that his reputation had been unfairly tarnished by the Fairfield Police Department's handling of the Nikki Campbell investigation, Tim Binder brought a defamation lawsuit against the city of Fairfield.
I'm sorry. The guy did this to himself. What kind of person goes to somebody's house freaking out like this? He freaked out. Let's not pretend that he didn't. The reports are that he was freaking out. He was crying. The guy was acting like literally he was that child's parent. When in reality, he had nothing to do with that child at all. Let's also not forget the fact of the grave site visit. Not only that, but multiple grave sites of those various girls. The guy did it to himself. He made himself look guilty as hell.
The city settled out of court for $90,000. Citing the advice of his attorney, Tim Binder turned down a request for an interview.
Wow, go figure. You would think that if somebody was truly innocent, that they did not do anything wrong, they would want to appear on television. That way that they could clear their name. Do you know who avoids wanting to do interviews and that sort of stuff? The guilty.
Although he has been questioned by police, it's important to note that Binder has not been charged with any crime relating to the disappearances of these girls.
Just because he wasn't charged doesn't mean that he didn't do it. They said he went to university. It makes me kind of scream that people are like, well, he went to a university, he went to a college, therefore he couldn't have done anything this heinous. But on the same hand, they're also like, they don't want to think like, well, he went to a university or to a college or whatever. He may be super freaking smart and able to hide his tracks. Maybe he hid his tracks well enough to not be implemented in the disappearance of these girls, but he also did other stuff that still puts a light on him.
And he has consistently claimed he is innocent. Kim Swartz refuses to give up. Even though Amber would today be in her 20s, Kim will not rest until she finds out what happened to her daughter. Within weeks of Amber's disappearance, Kim Swartz created the Amber Foundation for Missing Children. The foundation's goals continue to be educating parents on ways to prevent child.
Now, I'm wondering, is this related to the Amber Alert? Hold on, let's do a quick look here. Let's do a quick look. Let's see here. Who was the Amber Alert named after? Was it Amber Swartz? No, Amber Hagerman. Okay. I thought it was maybe Amber Hertz. Okay. Or Schwartz. Sorry, Amber Schwartz.
Abductions, so that what happened to Kim Swartz may never happen to them.
Okay, update. Here, let me do this. Hold on one second. Actually, let me just turn this off for time being. Let's do that. Okay. In the case of Angela Bugay, DNA evidence led to the arrest of a man named Larry Christopher Graham, who was convicted of rape and murder and sentenced to death. During an interview with the FBI, convicted killer Curtis Dean Anderson confessed to abducting and murdering Amber Swartz, but 30 days later, he died in prison. Anderson is considered a suspect. However, the Pinole Police Department has not closed the case because Amber's body has never been located. It could be that this guy was also using Amber Swartz as hopefully he could have used her as like a bargaining position. I don't know exactly what his sentence was, why he was in prison, like what his sentence was for prison, but maybe he thought, well, if I use Amber Swartz as a bargaining position, I could get off death penalty, for example, or I could get my life sentence lowered down to so many years or whatever. It's not unheard of that criminals in prison will lie in order to try and get something out of it. Okay, so that was the case of the East Bay Abductions. Angela Bugay, Amber Swartz, Michaela Garecht, Ilene Misheloff, and Nikki Campbell. With the exception of the Angela Bugay case, all these other girls are technically reported as still missing. What could it have been just that the person who killed Angela? Could it have been him that, did all the, kidnapped all these other girls? Could it have been other people? Or could it have been that Tim Bender individual? I still think that Tim Bender is extremely somebody you should be suspicious of. Well, I just literally spent 30 minutes recording this portion. Oh, I thought I was recording it, but come to find out my recording software did not actually capture what I was doing. 30 minutes down the drain. Oh God. Let's see if it works this time, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? It's on to the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki portion of this video. If you are new to this series, basically this is where I go to the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki and I check out the case that we just covered to see if there's been any new updates that was not mentioned in the televised recording of the video. Let's get on with it, shall we? Because I already did this one. Oh my God. Anyway. Okay, so the victim's name was Amber Swartz. Her real name was Amber Jean Swartz. She went by the nicknames AM and AJ. Location was Pinole, California, and the date was June 3rd, 1988. I can't even believe that it's been that long. I was not even 7 at this time. I was still 6 when this happened. Wow. Okay, Amber's bio. She was a student. I kind of figured that she was only, what was it, like 7 years old. Date of birth was August 19th, 1980. She was 4 feet tall when she went missing. She was 62 pounds, and they had her listed as single. Well, I would hope so. Okay. Characteristics. Because I have to re-record this because my software decided to crap out on me or something. But anyway, I came across some information in here and it drove me nuts. And you're going to watch me go on that rant. Well, this is going to be the second time I go on this rant. Anyway, characteristics. She was a white female with blonde or light brown hair, blue eyes. She has a severe hearing problem and uses a hearing aid and reads lips. I originally said that girl, to read lips at such a young age, I say that's something to be very proud of. If I had a child and she was, she was partially deaf and that they could read lips, I'd be like, I would be so proud. I would be so proud. That's like something even I'm not good at doing, Her ears are pierced. She has a slight speech impediment due to her hearing problem. Her teeth are crooked and she is missing her upper right tooth. She has a scar on the inside of her right eyebrow. She has moles on her throat and below the right side of her lower lip. She suffers from migraine headaches, which causes a loss of balance and vomiting. She takes prescription medication, I can't pronounce that. She takes that, whatever that is, for them. She did not have her medication or hearing aid when she vanished. This is what drove me up the fucking wall when I originally thought I was recording this. She was partially deaf, but she needed a hearing aid. To me, that indicates that if she needed a hearing aid, she was more than just partially deaf. I think that possibly she could have been like almost totally deaf. That's just me though. I'm not an expert, but when you need something to help you hear, to me that kind of says that it's more than just partially. To me that means like she really needed that extra help, And it drove me nuts. Oh my God, I'm going back onto that rant. Here we go. We're going back to Rant City, ladies and gentlemen. Get your seatbelts on because we're going to Rant City. We're going to Rant City 90 miles an hour. She let her daughter go outside without her hearing aid or hearing aids. Keep that in mind. The one device that could have possibly helped alert this little girl that danger was approaching her, she did not have that device to help her sufficiently hear what was going on in her environment. What the fuck is wrong with you? If I had a daughter, or if I had a child, let me just say if I had a child, and they were partially deaf, and my child disappeared, and my wife told me that they did not have the child wear their hearing aid when they went outside, I would have gone up the fucking wall. I would have gone up the wall. I would have been screaming at her. How could you let our child? How can you let our child go outside and not have them be properly ready for whatever is out there? The medication, I can understand her not having the medication. She was a little kid. Hell, when I had a headache or a tummy ache when I was a child, my mom would give me medicine when I went to her. My mother just wouldn't give me the bottle full of pills because kids are kids. Kids are kids. I could understand her not having the medication, but it was unexcusable. It was unexcusable that the mother let Amber go out there without her hearing aid. Unexcusable. It doesn't matter what the goddamn excuses are. You should have made she had a hearing aid for a reason. She didn't have a hearing aid because she won off of the final round of Jeopardy. Or she didn't participate in the TV show Double Dare. It wasn't a goddamn reward. No, she needed that hearing aid to make sure she was safe and she could hear her environment. And you let her leave the safety of her house without that hearing aid. I'm not saying that the parents are responsible, that they are responsible for their kid being kidnapped. No, that would be wrong of me to say that. But they made it fucking harder for their child to be able to tell when a stranger was approaching. Unacceptable. You fail as a parent right there. F. You may have gotten everything else. You may have gotten A's and everything else. Love, care, support, shelter. You failed in making sure your kid was kept safe. Failed. You don't get the bonus at the end of the year for, you don't get the Mother of the Year Trophy Award. No, you failed. She was last seen wearing a short-sleeved white shirt with teal bands around its ends and images of multicolored sunglasses printed on it. Purple corduroy pants, pink socks, brand new white LA Gear sneakers with pink or white laces, and emerald earrings with gold posts. She was carrying an adult-sized leather jump rope with wooden handles. Okay, so we already know the case details. This is actually a long read, so I'm not going to read it. This also covers the other missing girls that was profiled in the video. So let's actually scroll down. I think this rant was actually worse than the rant I did in the unrecorded when my software did not record me, because I literally, I ranted, but it was not to this extent, I think. Okay, we already know who the suspect is, so let's scroll past there. Extra notes. This case first aired on the June 13th, 2002 episode. It was previously featured on the January 18th, 1989 episode, which focused on Michaela. I think this was towards the end of the Robert Stack era of Unsolved Mysteries. Oh God, I can't recall the guy's name. I can't recall. This is before the show relaunched with the new host. It was profiled on America's Most Wanted, Missing Reward, and Oprah Winfrey Show. Although not mentioned by name, Amber was referenced on an episode of FBI Criminal Pursuit, which focused on 2 other crimes committed by Anderson. Philippin wrote the book Stalemate about the case. He was also interviewed for the Connecticut River Valley case, which is a case I actually want to cover in the near future. Although this case was not excluded from the film rights release of the Robert Stack episodes, several scenes were excluded. I'm kind of wondering what they were. Citing the advice of his attorney, Bidner turned down the show's request for an interview. And this is another thing I fucking ranted about. Why would it, to me, people who are innocent, people who did not do anything wrong, why would they not want to do an interview? If you're so innocent as you claim, wouldn't you want to get out there, get on every piece of media possible to proclaim your innocence? You won a $90,000 judgment against the city because you claimed the city was coming after you. You were able to sufficiently show enough evidence that you did not do anything wrong, Therefore, you got the judgment of $90,000. What are you hiding, Tim? What are you hiding? You say you're innocent, that you're an innocent person. Your lawyer, your mouthpiece says you're innocent, that you're just a good Samaritan. What would you have to hide by not doing this interview, Tim? What are you hiding? What are you hiding? To me, you know what it says when somebody hides and they don't want to do an interview, even though they claim that they're innocent. You know what that tells me? It tells me you're guilty, Tim. It tells me you're guilty as fuck. Although not mentioned during the broadcast, another girl, 12-year-old Tara Cossie, disappeared from San Pablo, California on June 1979. There is some speculation that Bidner was involved in her disappearance as well. Bring the bloodhound back out there. Put that bloodhound, take her to that bloodhound to her grave. See if it picks up on Bidner's scent. Well, I know it's kind of late now, but this guy, if he went to Swartz's grave, or was it Bugay's? I can't recall which one exactly it was. 90 times, and that was back all those years ago. He's still probably doing this weird behavioral shit now. Take that dog to that girl's grave. See if it picks up on Bidner's scent. See where it goes. If it goes to another grave, and then another grave, and then another grave, and then to a van or whatever, then there should be some fucking questions being asked. In 1984, Amber was hit by a car traveling 55 miles per hour on a residential street. She received a concussion and partially lost her hearing as a result. This is another thing that I fucking ranted about. And guess what? I'm still fucking ranting about it now. The mother. Her child was nearly killed when she was hit by that car. The child was injured to a point she sustained partial hearing loss. How the hell is it that her mother did not realize that her child, she was lucky that her child survived that last incident. She let her child go out there once again, but this time without the hearing aids. How is it that it did not click? That it did not click. That it did not click that her child could be at risk again. 1 month after Amber vanished, children's clothes were uncovered in a shallow grave marked by a wooden cross in a Martinez, California cemetery. They included a sweatshirt, sweater, dress, and panties. They did not belong to Amber or Angela. The police feared they belonged to another unidentified victim. However, it is not known if anyone was ever connected to them. Kim was in a relationship with Al Garcia at the time of Amber's disappearance, and Amber sometimes used his last name as a result. Used his last name. As a result, some sources refer to her last name as Swartz Garcia or Garcia Swartz. Sources vary on when Amber was last seen. It could have been either 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m., or 5 p.m. Okay, so since this is a rather long case, I'm going to kind of skip the results. Suffice it, due to how long it is, I'm just going to kind of scroll towards the bottom. Just so you do know, the case is currently earmarked as unresolved. So I'm going to scroll to near the bottom because that's where the newest information will be. So let's scroll down to here. Okay. September 2013. Leah Dool, a family friend, launched an online petition to have the Pinole Police Department reopen the case. More than 1,300 people signed it. On October 1st, 2013, the Pinole Police Department reopened the case. They noted that her body had never been found and that they hoped new technology would allow them to better process old evidence. This is something that drives me nuts. A lot of stuff drives me nuts. I'm not going to deny it. It gets fucking sad. It gets sad when we have to have a goddamn petition to reopen a case. You would think that if the police have some free time, or the detectives have some free time, or whoever it is responsible for reopening these cases, if they have some free time, they should just do it naturally. Technology has advanced, but no, we have to wait for a petition to be signed to reopen a case of a young missing girl. They couldn't just do it. No, we need to have a petition. Why? You have free time, you're not doing anything. What, are you too fucking lazy to walk down the stairs to the basement where these files of, these cold cases are? We have to wait till a petition is signed. It's a crime. A girl is missing, and you're waiting for a fucking petition? Fucking uncalled for. If it was their kid, I'd make you a bet they wouldn't want to wait for a petition to be signed. They'd be constantly hounding the police force to constantly reopen this case. Okay, we got 1,300 signatures. Okay, let's reopen it. It should have been reopened because it's a fact that it's unsolved. The case is unsolved. That's why it should have been left. It shouldn't have even been closed. They also noted that they had not received any information or evidence that disputed Anderson's confession. Kim said she was ecstatic when she learned the news. She hopes that reopening the case will help lead her to Amber. She also hopes that new DNA technology will also help in this case. This is why I say that case should have been reopened. There should not have been a petition. The fact that there was new technology to help with the DNA and all that should have automatically ordered this case to be reopened. It should have been, we need 1,300 signatures if you want this case reopened. No, you have new technology that could help lead to the answer to this missing girl's case. Fucking unacceptable. You failed. You failed to do your job. Unfortunately, no new evidence has surfaced. Angela's case was later solved when DNA evidence led to the arrest of her mother's ex-boyfriend, Larry Christopher Graham. He was convicted of rape and murder and sentenced to death. Good. But this is California after all, so I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if they 2 months later, they do an about turn and go, oh, we're sorry we put you on death row. We're actually going to let you out of prison, and here's a free $1 million check. It's California for you. An arrest was also made in Michaela's case in 2020. David Mish, a convicted murderer and alleged serial killer, was connected to it via a palm print on her scooter. He is currently awaiting trial in her case and 2 other murders. James Old, the killer of Amber's father, Bernie, died in prison in 2020 at the age of 71. Why the fuck do I care if a killer died in prison? I'm sorry, I don't fucking feel compassion or sympathy or empathy for criminals. They're criminals. They're in prison for a fucking reason. But Jeff, he died in... I don't give a shit. They're not in prison because they won the challenge round on Wheel of Fortune. No, they did heinous stuff to be put in prison. And I don't feel bad when they die in prison. And neither should you. Oh, Jesus Christ, this case is going to drag it out of me, I swear. Okay, we got a few links here. Well, actually, a lot of links. Okay, let's just scroll down. Okay, so sadly, we have only one find a grave, it looks like. I mean, just make sure. Let's do it. Find grave. Yep, this is the only one. So let's see here. Okay, Amber Jean Swartz Garcia, 1980 to 1988. Burial details unknown. Okay, here are the pictures. Most of these pictures would most likely be either from family or from Unsolved Mysteries. This one was from Unsolved Mysteries, if I remember correctly. Okay, date of birth, August 19th, 1980, Pinole, Contra Costa County, California, USA. Date of death, June 3rd, 1988, age 7. Same location as date of birth. Burial details unknown. Specifically, she disappeared, never seen again. And that, if I was a parent, that would drive me nuts, knowing that my kid is most likely dead, and we don't even have a fucking grave site. My kid is dead, and we don't even have a fucking grave. And the police, they wanted a fucking petition. They wanted a fucking petition to reopen the case when they should have just reopened it because new technology could have helped solve this case. Fail. And then here, the only family member that we have listed here, it is Floyd Harold Bernie Swartz. And as you know, he was, according to what was learned, he was a police officer. Like I said, I'm not saying the mom was totally responsible for Amber getting kidnapped. But he did not help her daughter by the fact that she did not have her daughter wear that hearing aid. How is it that the mother did not realize that she was lucky last time? She was lucky. Her child was hit by a car. And yet, oh, I'm actually a little bit darker in this. Anyway. And yet, time came around and she let her child go outside without the hearing aid. Fail! But that is it for this case. Sadly, we don't have that many answers, especially for the missing girls. The only one that was located was Angela Bugay, but sadly, Amber Swartz, Michaela Garecht, Ilene Misheloff, and Nikki Campbell, they're still missing. Okay, everybody, it is that time of the video. We are at the end of the road. Another case has been covered. Another installment has been completed. And I just wanted to thank everybody who watches this video. I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch it. And hopefully you or somebody you know may know something about what happened to these girls. Ultimately, that is the goal of this series. Basically, I want to try and help keep that light shined on these cases so they don't get forgotten, But I'm going to back on out, and I wish you all the best of days. If you have a child, for God's sakes, if you have a child, make sure that you keep an eye on them at all times, because if there's one thing here that this case shows, it shows that our children can, or well, your children, I don't have a kid, but it shows that your kids can disappear in the blink of an eye. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse. Wishing you all a great day. Stay safe, everybody. Peace out.